Bhushan, a friend, motivator, and guide to IAS aspirant, international motivational speaker, leadership trainer, CEO, coach, political strategist, and policy advisor. Welcome to ASG. ASG IAS believe in quality, commitment, and success. The quote of today: Non-violence should never be used. Non-violence should never be used as a shield for cowardice. It is a weapon for the brave. It is a weapon for the brave. This quote of Mahatma Gandhi from the book The Words of Gandhi, written by Richard Attenborough. The source of today's news is the Hindu newspaper. Important news are: China conducts a drill in South China Sea. China conducts drills in South China Sea. Beijing recently conducted high-intensity naval exercises in South China Sea, China's defense ministry said on Thursday as tensions grow over the Asian powers' maneuvers in the contested waters. China's expanding military presence in the region has worried several of its neighbors, while the US has vowed to stand up against the Beijing's territorial claims to much of the South China Sea, including contested Parcel Island, Paracel Island. Chinese H-6G and H-6J jet bombers carried out high-intensity training and completely day and night training exercises taking off and landing, long-range assault and attacks on sea target. Defense Ministry spokesperson Ren Gokyang said at a virtual press conference. Mr. Ren said the exercises were part of the routine training and had achieved the expected result without giving their specific location. China, which is locked in dispute with the neighbors including India, Japan, and Vietnam over islands in the South China Sea, has infuriated other nations by building artificial island with military installation in parts of the sea. The next news is clarifying LAC. Clarifying LAC could create a new dispute, said Chinese envoy. China's traditional customary boundary line is accordance with the LAC. China was not in favor of resuming the process of clarifying the line of actual control because it could create a new dispute. Its ambassador to India, Sun Wedong, said on Thursday. China troops were on the side of its traditional customary boundary line on the northern bank of the Pyongyang Lake, where the disengagement between the two sides is yet to happen. He stated that is expected to taken up later this week at the fifth round of the talks between the corps commanders of both armies. The Ministry of External Affairs MEA said there has been some process made towards complete disengagement along the LAC, but the disengagement process has as yet not been completed. The senior commanders of the two sides will meet in the near future to work out the steps in this regard. An education policy. An education policy that is sweeping in its vision. An education policy that is sweeping in its vision. The National Education Policy 22 provide the ingredients and the right recipe that we will make its dependence on us. In improving the National Education Policy NEP 2020 on July 29, the Union Cabinet has taken an important step toward India's transitions from the deprivation to development, 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 deprivation to development. It marks the fourth major policy initiative in education since independence. The last one was undertaken in a good 34 years ago and modified in 1992. Given our current demographic profile, the stage of the development we are in, and the aspiration of our youth, the new policy has not come a day too soon. Sweeping in vision. Based on the two committee reports and extensive nationwide consultation, NEP 2020 is sweeping in its vision and seeks to address the entire gamut of the education from the preschool to doctorate study and from the professional degrees to vocational training. It acknowledges the 21st century need for the mobility, flexibility, alternate pathways to learning and self-actualization. India has faced unprecedented challenges in providing quality education to and the youth. Lack of resources and capacity. Dozens of mother tongues are linked language, and despite being the global language of the choice is alien to most, and a persistent mismatch between the knowledge and skills imparted and the jobs available have been some of the challenges that have bedeviled our efforts since independence. The 2020 policy attempts to break free from the shackles of the past in adopting a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 model for school education starting as age 3. It recognizes the primacy of the formative years, primacy of the formative years from the age 3 to 8 in shaping the child's future. It also recognizes the importance of learning in the child's mother tongue till at least class 5. Here we are up against the strong desire of the parents today, born of the pragmatism. The word which I repeat, please note it down. Pragmatism to give a head start to their children by exposing them to English from day one. Maybe we should recognize that between ages 3 and 8, picking up languages is child's play, and blend the mother tongue, and English in the first 5 years of the school. Multilingual facility, multilingual felicity could become the USP of the educated Indian. Another key aspect of the school education and the new policy is the breaking of the straitjackets of the arts, commerce, and science streams in high school, and the laudable goal of introducing vocational courses with the internship. How exactly this will be realized is to be worked out, given the penchant of the overzealous parents to stream their children into profession at the earliest. The blue collarization of the vocation in our society is also hurdle to the overcome, but this need not deter to us from recognizing the merits of the proposed policy. Needless to say, the policy envisages 100% enrollment ratio gross enrollment ratio GER in school education by 2030. The next says, this is the editorial of the Hindu newspaper by PDT Ray. Getting ahead of constitutional practices. If constitutional principles and practices no longer excite the citizen, but new political norms do, democracy is in trouble. The next news is banking on serology. The virus isn't as lethal as the originally feared, but is more infectious than previously believed. A recent serology survey that scientists use to estimate the spread of COVID-19 in Mumbai has found that nearly 3 in 5, or 57% of those tested in slums, had been exposed to a virus and had developed antibodies against it, as compared to only 16% of those tested in the residential society. Result from Delhi's seroprevalence study earlier this month found that nearly a quarter of the 21,000 odd samples tested had been exposed to the virus, and some of the densest districts had over 20% prevalence. Of the nearly 7,000 tested in Mumbai, nearly 61% were slum dwellers, and the higher prevalence of the virus there showed that, as expected, those living in the densest urban agglomerations were most likely to have been infected by it. A large proportion of those in which antibodies were detected, the numbers aren't known, were asymptomatic, and this pointed to the fact that fatality rate in Mumbai may be as low as 0.05 to 0.10% instead of existing 5.5%, as per an estimate accompanying the results of the survey. Such serological surveys were increasingly being used by states. Ahmedabad's civic body conducted one to conclude that only 17% of the city had been likely exposed to the virus, and Tamil Nadu too is the midst of the conducting such a survey. A dominant theme driving state bodies that commission such surveys is to check for the levels of hard community. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best. God bless Bharat.